To discuss further on the use of ATMs now and other issues I have with me, financial analyst Johnson Chukwu. You're always welcome to our studio.
My pleasure.
Thanks for always being there for us. I want to start an explanation from you. The CBN has directed that banks are to destroy ATM cards once it is, trapped in other banks. As for example, if you're using a particular bank's card and you want to use one in another bank and it gets trapped, like now they have the right to, destroy it. What's your take on that?
Well, I think we have to look at the reason behind it, because that's the directive must have been backed, must be based on certain fundamental reasons. And I suspect the reason is that when the cards get trapped in other banks' ATM machines, the security features of those cards may be compromised. And therefore, the central bank does not want a situation whereby compromised cards are returned to the card holders, and such cards could easily be subject to fraud. I think that's what the reason why the central bank said that once a card is trapped in another bank's ATM system, that bank where the card is trapped should destroy and return it to the issuer so that they can issue a fresh card to the card holder. So it's basically part of the measures to moderate the rate of fraud, electronic fraud in the country.
But how do you think that what kind of impact do you think that will have on the cash-light policy?
Well, in the first place, if they return the cards within the day, within 24 hours, as CBN allows them to do, okay. It will allow the bank to reissue the cards. And if you look at the rate, the time it takes banks to issue cards, it's already shortened. We already have a short period of time, waiting time for you to get your card. So once your bank card issuer is notified that your card has been destroyed and the original card is returned to them, it won't take them time to reissue that card. But remember that the use of ATM card is not only electronic payment system. Okay. You can still go online and make your payments. There are a lot of people have token, so they log in, use their token, which is a logical electronic feature that allows you to generate several numbers which are unique to your account, so that you can still use your token to make your payment. So it's not just the ATM. ATM, granted, is a more versatile and easily adaptable means of payment. But even when you have, for any reason, you have a hindrance in the use of your ATM, and the bank can replace that ATM within the 48 hours or thereabouts, you can still use other means of payment. But the only challenge we have is not that the ATM card will be destroyed. The challenge we have is that the efficiency of the technology backbone on which electronic payment rights, and that's what we need to continue to improve on.
Okay, let's look at a scenario where somebody does not have those options that you just enumerated. That maybe he or she finds himself or herself somewhere that is not her own or his own base, and then his card got trapped or her own card got trapped in a certain machine. What will happen?
Well, if once someone is in a location where it's not your natural location and your card gets trapped, a lot of banks have advanced to the point that you can actually use your phone to carry out banking transactions, unless you are saying that your phone also got lost. But if all these things happen, then you might need to look for internet access to be able to make transfers
and sort yourself out.
Yeah, sort yourself out. But the fact is this, which is why I say the key thing is that the backbone on which electronic payment ride on is the strength of your telecommunication system. And Lagos has a reasonable high quality telecommunication system, but that does not apply to all parts of the country. There are some parts of the country, like some parts of the northeast today, that they are having on and off telephone services. If you go to some remote areas, my village, there's virtually no telephone service there. Apart from recently when one of the service providers came to mount their mast in the village, and it doesn't even cover the entire village. So there are several parts of the village you will be, and you won't have access to electronic payment systems. But the key thing is that we need to drive the broadband internet penetration. We need to push for total coverage of the entire country with telecommunication pipelines.
In your opinion, who is supposed, to bear the cost of this, issuance of the new card? Because it is not my fault as a customer that I put my card into a certain machine and it got trapped.
I think clearly it's the duty of the issuer, the bank that issues that card, to replace the card.
But at the tail end, it is the customer that pays.
No, that wouldn't be fair, because the fact that your card got trapped is not your fault. It's because of a failure in the hardware of the bank that you try to make withdrawal from. And if it is a failure that's outside your control, it will not be proper for you to bear the cost of failures that you cannot control or that you have no role in instigating. So I think the appropriate thing is for the issuer in these instances, or in this instance, to bear the cost of replacing the card.
Okay. Is it, let me ask another question. Is it that the internal auditors, when we're in school, we're taught about, internal auditing and their responsibilities. Is it that the internal auditors don't work anymore, and that's why it is very difficult to check internal fraud? Because it is as a result of the fact that the central bank feels that the staffs or the bank staffs themselves can make use of those cards that they now come up with this. So it should be part of it.
The challenge you have is that the speed at which electronic payment moves is far ahead of the rate at which human efforts move. If, for instance, somebody wants to commit fraud on your card, he could move the money from your account to his account and move the money 100 times within a period of 2 minutes. Okay. Even if the auditors should pick it up the next day, the money may have been lost. And that's why the key thing is to forestall fraud. Not necessarily, the focus is not how to trace and punish fraud. The appropriate strategy should be to forestall and prevent fraud. And that's why the central bank is taking that preventive measure.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Johnson Chukwu.